Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's NinjaTrader ecosystem event, Build an Auto Trader in 15 minutes. My name is Patrick, and I am the NinjaTrader ecosystem vendor relations manager here at NinjaTrader. Before we get started with today's webinar, I do have a few housekeeping items to help you and help us here in the presentation. So secondly, this webinar is a presentation or is presented by NinjaTrader LLC, which is the technology company responsible for developing and supporting the NinjaTrader trading software. The brokerage-related questions should be directed to the NinjaTrader brokerage using the phone number and the email address that you see on screen. I'll go ahead and post these into the room for everyone as well. Please make sure you can to sign up for a free NinjaTrader account, which includes access to 14 days of complimentary real-time market data. Our platform is always free for advanced charting, market analytics, strategy backtesting, and trade simulation. You can create your free account by following the link on the screen. So before I turn it over to Jeremy and Zach, there are a few items we, of course, need to go over as far as risk disclosures are concerned. It's important to understand that futures, foreign currency, and options trading contains substantial risk, and it is not suitable for every investor. It is possible to lose all or more than the initial investment. Risk capital is money that can be lost without jeopardizing one's financial status, security, or lifestyle. Only risk capital should be used for trading, and only those with sufficient risk capital, should consider trading. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of any future results. For information or a copy of the full CFTC risk disclosure, please visit the link that I'm entering into the room now. Thank you again all for joining us here today. And I'm going to go ahead and turn over the screen here, allow you to take control there. Jeremy?
Patrick, am I correct in saying, in hearing or seeing that we can't share our webcam? Is that a thing?
I believe so at this time. I haven't confirmed yet, so apologize for that.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll just have you guys imagine I'm sitting on a beach then. My name is Jeremy Tang. I'm one of the co-founders of SharkIndicators, and the other voice you just heard there was Zach White. How are you doing, Zach?
Hey, good. I'm enjoying this cool weather. I actually had to turn the heater on this morning. It was so cool.
It was snowing just west of where I live,
man,
days ago, which is pretty amazing.
Right.
So yeah,
well, hot weather is just around the corner. So
I hope so.
I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. So we have a little bit of a disclaimer ourselves, as you can see on the screen. Just let me know if you can see it okay, just so I'm not kind of going through slides here that no one can see. Are you guys okay with seeing? Can you see the disclaimer up on the screen? Okay, we got some yeses here. How many of you guys are new to to who we are, SharkIndicators? We seem to have a pretty sizable crowd today, so I imagine there's probably some new faces in here. Maybe
I've definitely seen some existing customers here today. So but I'd like to know who's new to SharkIndicators.
Yeah, just go ahead and type a Y in the chat if you are. If you never, okay, we got some new people. Great. So today's going to be kind of an introduction of who we are and what we do. You're probably drawn in here because you saw the catchy auto trader build in 15 minutes, and we're wondering, is this even possible? We're gonna do it live for you guys, and we're gonna have a little fun with it. Just today, we're gonna sort of pretend here, just making sure there's no kind of animal lovers in here that think that we're actually going to sacrifice a real kitten if we don't build it in 15 minutes. But that's the challenge. We're going to have Zach White build a full-blown auto trader in 15 minutes, or a kitten dies. So let's talk a little bit about auto traders and why they're kind of a hot topic, and that's there's some pros and cons there. I think a lot of auto traders that are kind of ones that you can buy off the shelf, sort of they do have a bit of some of them have what do you call it, like a little bit of a black stain on them, because some users have reported that there's a lot of wild swings when it comes to these things. and really, I think a lot of the problem is because the black boxes, or so the auto traders that you can buy off the shelf are really just kind of black boxes, and they work kind of mysteriously, and you just sort of buy them, and maybe you have a few parameters you can tweak, but by and large, you don't really know what's going on inside under the hood. And in some cases, actually, these products, they're deliberately kind of hiding the secret sauce, because they don't want to kind of give away their quote unquote trading secrets in any way. So you sort of buy or subscribe to these black boxes, but you don't really know what's going on inside. And that can be, of course, really tricky, because we kind of get this one size fits all approach, which is not exactly, may not be good for everybody. We're all kind of individuals here, and people have different trading styles, different appetites for different kind of risks, and different goals. And really, how do you know what you're buying is really up to, for you. So Patrick just mentioned I can start my video, so I'm going to go ahead and try that right now. Well, yeah, I gave it a shot, but looks like Patrick, I can't start my webcam, but that's all right. We'll save that for another time. All right, so we at Shark Indicators take a completely different approach, and really our company is focused around the idea of enabling and empowering you as the trader to create your own auto trader. And you may be thinking, okay, that's great. So, why would we do this? Well, number one, because we do believe every individual's got their own trading style, and they have their own, you have your own risk parameters. And really everybody trades differently. I remember I was sitting in a room once, this, a decade ago or more. And I was in a classroom, and up at the front, I was learning how to trade. And the instructor said, look, if I gave everyone in this room signals when to enter, and just said, trade this, and I just instructed you all to trade exactly when I told you to, I would get 50 different results. And his point was that every trader would, even if they were given the same exact buy and sell signals, would still treat the trade differently, because there's a lot of other parameters at play, namely, of course, how you manage the trade. So instead of a one size fits all, what we like to think about, or what we like to empower our users with, is the ability to create their own auto trader with their own trading rules. And if you really think about it, though, what does it take to create an auto trader? Well, without kind of like our software, really, there's only kind of, I'm talking custom one, of course, there's really only kind of one or two ways to do it. You either got to be a developer, or you got to have the resources to hire a developer to do it for you. And that's, of course, for a lot of people, actually, unless this is you are yourself a vendor, perhaps. That's a budgetary issue, and also, not everybody here is a coder, and really, you got to kind of ask yourself, is this something you want to spend your time on? Is actually like learning how to code? It's even myself, right? I've been a developer for 20 some odd. Well, actually, we're coming close on almost 30 years now. So I've been a developer since I've been a kid, and really, if I were to compare of how long it would take me to do, say, we're going to see in a minute here, Zach building a system, a auto trader system in 15 minutes. Even if with my level of experience, there's no way in hell I'd be able to outpace him, or even come close to being able to build a quote unquote full blown auto trader in that same amount of time. And that's with all the experience of NinjaScript development behind my belts, as well as just development experience in general. So really, when we sat down and thought about this problem, and this is really the foundation of our tools. What we want to do is sort of build these really easy to use tools that are just, graphically, have a nice graphical interface. And it just, in this case here, you're looking at a screenshot of Bloodhound. And as you just saw, like it's a node-based interface, and you just connect a few nodes and you can create signals very easily. And then you can pipe those signals into sort of our other products, which allow you to fully auto trade it. So really what we offer is the ability for guys or girls like you to create trade systems without having to write a line of code. Now, I'll just put a little side there. If you happen to be a developer, you can actually still augment some of these signals and, go to town, if you will. But for the rest of us, like you're for the most part, you can create pretty complicated and fully blown trading systems without having to write a single line of code. So, and of course, you may also be thinking, right, what's the benefits of having an auto trader anyway? I'm not even sure if I really want that kind of thing. And that's perfectly fine, because actually, if I were to mention it, the vast majority of our customers don't actually use the full auto trader when they trade. They actually like to use a lot of manual discretionary moves and decisions, and actually take over in a lot of cases, and sort of use our system to augment their manual trading instead. However, I do want to make a very important point, and that's, if you plan on vetting your system, generally speaking, that means you're going to be back testing it to some degree. You actually need a full-blown auto trader to perform the back test, right? So even if you don't trade with your system in a fully automated sense live, you still need to implement it in a fully automated sense just to do the back test, right? Or at least to do it efficiently, unless you want to be scrambling around with Excel spreadsheets and whatnot, which is of course a very tedious, and I wouldn't even recommend trying to do something like that. That's just a lot of wasted time. So really, we like to look at it as like it's more like a spectrum. On one side, you've got fully discretionary trading, and the other side, you got fully automated trading. And most traders kind of fit somewhere along that spectrum, not necessarily on one side or the other. And with our software, you can actually switch. You can flow anywhere within that spectrum that you want, literally at any time you want. So you can be in the middle of a trade even that's fully automated and just take over, right? Or vice versa. Maybe you've decided you want the computer to manage the trade once you've entered, manually or something like that. So we don't pigeonhole you in any kind of way, shape, or form in terms of how you should trade. How you should trade is totally up to you, and that's really the magic behind our software. It's kind of like an autopilot, right? If you're flying a commercial airline jet, how many actually of you in here happen to be pilots? I'm just really curious. Sometimes we get a couple. Anybody? Yeah, we do. Awesome. Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I was told, right, that a lot of commercial pilots, even despite the fact that they have autopilot capability, where it can do the full takeoff and landing completely on its own, they still prefer to do the manual, to do the landing manually whenever it's possible, because it's just they just preference perhaps, right? And the same thing sort of applies with our software, right? You can do it completely automated if you like, but at any time you can just take over and turn the autopilot off and take over manual control. That's a really, really cool power, because it basically it amounts to things like, hey, if you're seeing the market doing something that your system wasn't designed to do or to react to, you can just simply take over and still salvage a good trade or even a good trading day, right? So that's really how our software works. Okay, so actually, I think at this time, what I'm going to do, instead of just talking about what it can do, we're just going to jump into actually showing it to you. So, and Zach's going to do that. And again, just to remind you guys what's at stake here, we're going to do this in 15 minutes, or this poor little kitten's going to perish.
Oh no, not the kitty. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Don't worry. We'll save this poor kitten here. All right, everybody. So this is Zach here. So basically, I'm the product specialist. And I know there's a lot of people on this webinar who already know who I am because they're existing customers. And they join me for the weekly training sessions that I host. So every Thursday, well, it would have been today, but we had a sales webinar. But Thursdays and Fridays, I host a training session. It's a live open session where anybody can come in and ask questions on how to build something, in our software. How do you implement stuff into our software? So, so that's why I'm the one who's also going to be doing the building of the system here today. So, all right, so yeah, without spending any more time here, let me explain what we're going to build, or what I'm going to build, and then we'll get to building. So I have this video here, from YouTube, and I like to say that this is usually the kind of the typical scenario for any new beginner, and maybe even for a seasoned trader who's always looking to add more trading ideas right to their portfolio of the way they trade, right? So all people are always scouring the internet looking for trading ideas, and the internet's full of all of these kind of Forex trading ideas, right? So I do want to preface that, this Trader DNA company here, they are promoting Forex trading ideas, right? But I don't have Forex data, so I'm going to be testing this on the futures index there. So, but right. So this, anyways, back to the main premise here, right? This is one of those trading ideas that you'll find out there on the internet. And of course, super easy and insane results. So, sounds great, right? Well, how do you know? Obviously, you can look on your charts and mark up your charts. And as Jeremy said, put all that stuff in an Excel spreadsheet, right? And test it that way, right? That's the old way. Or you could build an auto trader, which is what I'm going to do for you guys right now, of this trading idea, and then test it out literally within 15 minutes, right? So let me take the time to explain how this trading system works here before I actually implement it, right? So, so I stopped the video here, right here, where it's defining an uptrend, right? So an uptrend is when the faster moving average is above the slower moving average, right? Pretty standard for identifying the trend, for a lot of trading systems. But then the trade trigger is when the RSI, and this is a faster moving RSI here, but when the RSI pulls back to the 40 level here, so we can see this thicker orange line is the 40 level. So when it pulls back and then crosses back up, that is your trade trigger. And one thing that you would notice about this system here is that it does seem to identify these pullbacks to the slower moving average pretty well, right? That, when that RSI gets a little bit oversold, but not too deeply oversold here, right? But when it gets a little bit oversold and then crosses back up, that is identifying these nice kind of pullbacks to the slower moving average, right? And there is one final rule here where if the RSI pulls all the way back, too far back to the 25 level, then that's too far, and that negates the trade, right? That cancels the trade setup, right? And for a short signal or a short trend, everything is reversed. So basically, you're looking for the RSI to go above the 60 level and cross down. And of course, your two moving averages, are going to be flipped in the opposite direction there. All right. So I already have that up on my chart here. So we can see on the RSI here, right? The green line, is what we're looking for the RSI to pull back to the green line and then cross back up. I've got a couple of points here with arrows kind of identifying those. But we also need, right, the two moving averages, pointed in the right direction, right? So the faster above the slower for a long signal. Yeah. And then, of course, I have the red line, which is what we're using for short signals, right? And then the white lines are those oversold, overbought, too extreme, and that's what cancels the setup. Like, for example, over here, if the moving averages, were set up for a short trade, this would cancel the short signal of the RSI crossing the 60 level here. But our moving averages are flipped in the opposite direction. So, all right, so that's not a short trade there. So, all right, so that's it. It is pretty simple, as the name of the video implies. It is pretty easy, scalping system here. So with that, let's implement it. And I have a little kitten timer here ready to go to keep track of my time. So there we go. So now let me open up Bloodhound to get to building here, right? So you notice that Bloodhound is a totally unique kind of indicator. It's not even really kind of your traditional indicator, right? It's a system building thing, but it falls within the the indicator class of NinjaTrader here. So the first thing we're going to do is build the moving average trend here, right? So we're comparing the fast moving average to the slow moving average. And so I need a comparison solver so that I can compare the SMA 10 to the SMA 30. And it's always a good idea to put in a name, for these nodes here. So that way later on, what the node is doing, right? So this is comparing the SMA 10 to the SMA 30. So let's get those indicators plugged in here, right? So I already have the SMA as the default indicator. So I just need to switch it to a 10 period. And then for the other input here, again, right, the SMA is the default indicator. I just need to switch it to a 30 period, like so. And so with that, we can instantly see, when the faster moving average is above or below the slower one, right? And Bloodhound is designed to give you long signals or short signals, right? But in this case, Bloodhound is actually giving you the trend direction, right? These aren't trade signals, right? But this is telling you when the faster moving average is above or below the slower moving average, giving you kind of the general right trend direction, right? So that's what we're seeing right now, right? And we know that we have a lot of customers who love using Bloodhound just to identify the trend, basically allowing Bloodhound to do kind of like the analytical analysis and giving you the result. So that way, as a trader, you're not having to process all the indicators on your chart. You can allow Bloodhound to do a lot of that processing for you and just give you the trend result there. All right. So that would be for those who are really kind of seasoned discretional traders, where they just want to be on the right side of the trend of the market, and then they're picking and choosing exactly when to go in and get the trade there, right? Okay, so we have the trend direction built. So now let's work on the RSI signals here, right? So we need that RSI to cross above 40 or cross below 60, right? And let's see here, let me switch back. There we go. There's where it was before there. So, and all right, so for that, right, so we're looking for those crossover conditions there. So I'm going to grab a crossover solver. Let's connect that in, right? And let's give this a name here. All right, so this is when the RSI is crossing above or crossing up the 40 level, right? For a long signal there. So let's plug in the RSI, and I'm going to do a little search here. So we have this nice little simple search box up above, helps us find all those indicators a lot quicker. And this is a faster move RSI, so it's an 8 period. So adjust the period. And we are using the RSI, not the average, but the RSI. So plug that in there. And then the next input is actually the 40 value, right? The 40 level. So we're going to change the input type to a fixed value, right? And that fixed value is 40, like so. And there we go. Instantly, we can see whenever the RSI crosses down 40 and crosses up 40, right? You can see all those crossover points there. But we're only interested in the cross ups, right? Because when it crosses 40, that's for a long signal. So we want to get rid of the short. We don't need the short cross downs. So to do that, to kind of clean it up, we're going to adjust the evaluate to long only. And there we go. Now we only have the long cross up signals. All right. So that was for the RSI and the 40 level. So now we need to make one, right, for the red line here. For the red line, right, which is crossing down the 60 level there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this and then paste a new node in here. Let's connect that up. All right, so you notice that whenever you connect something to the result node, that is what you see on the chart there. And we're going to adjust the name. So this is going to be a cross down of the 60 value there, right? So the fixed value, we need to change that to 60 now. And so this is, right, so we can see all the cross ups, but what we want are the cross downs, right? The short cross down signals. So I just need to adjust my evaluate to short only. And there we go. There's where the RSI crosses down the red line or the 60 level there. And then finally, lastly, we need to combine these two together. We're going to use an OR node here, like so. And the OR node combines everything together. And so when I connect that in, there we go. So now we see, right, the long signals and the short signals together for the RSI. All right, this is only for the RSI right now. So remember the other node here that determines the SMA trend, that hasn't been connected in yet. So let's connect that in. And to do that, we need an AND node, right? Because we need the SMA trend and we need the RSI trade signals, right? The RSI crossover signals. And so once we combine that, now it's filtering things out, right? So we can see, right, whenever the faster SMA is above, we're getting these long signals like so. And let's shrink this up here a little bit. Yeah, there's a few more, and right now, this is what I call, giving your system, your idea, the eyeball test, right? So we can easily and quickly, you can see all the green, what we call racing stripes there. So a good buddy of ours, back in the day, we didn't know what to call these, signals here. And a friend of ours called them racing stripes, and it just kind of stuck, just seemed like a good name here. So we call these, green lines, racing stripes there. And so you can see those, instantly on the chart, and you can quickly kind of scan through your chart now, just giving it the eyeball test, right? And you can instantly pick out any of the bad trades, so obviously that short was a bad short. That long, it's kind of questionable, right? It took its time, but it did work out, right? That long signal, that was a bad one, obviously, right there, right? And we have a couple more bad long signals. But, the point is, right, you can scan through your chart now once you have your signals built, and you can give it the eyeball test, right? And see, is it worth further investment of your time, or should you just skip over it, right? But, in the interest of fully backtesting this, we're now going to implement this into the strategy here. I do want to note, though, that, if you're really paying attention, right, remember I said that if the RSI crosses the white lines, right, that's supposed to cancel out a trade, but what I've noticed is that by the time the RSI crosses these white lines, the SMA trend has already flipped. So you almost never will see a short signal after the RSI has crossed the white line. And you'll never see, almost never, I should say, you'll almost never see a long signal if the RSI, right, crossed the lower white line, right? We can even see down here, right, the RSI came close and then crossed the green line, but the moving averages had already flipped by that time, right? So, again, you can quickly spot, these kind of behaviors in your system once you have these racing stripes up there. Right. So, so with that, really, this is really all you need from what I've seen so far. So let's take this. Also, let me adjust this here. So I'm going to name this to entry there. And there we go. Right. So these are our entry signals. And what I'm also going to build are exit signals. Right. Now, this wasn't in the video, but, it should be apparent that obviously whenever the moving averages cross each other and flip the trend direction, obviously, that's an exit condition, right? Because the market trend has reversed on you. So with Bloodhound, you can also build exit signals. And so I'm going to do that right now, just to show a little bit more of what you can do with Bloodhound. And so let's call this the exits here. And oops, get rid of the N. There we go. Right. So we have entry signals, right, on one logic template. And then on another logic template, we're going to build exit signals here. And to do that, I need another crossover solver, because the exits are simply when the faster moving average crosses the slower one. All right, so let's give this a name here. There we go, right? SMA 10 crossing the SMA 30. And again, we're just going to go and adjust the periods of the SMA there, right? And so forth. And you may have noticed, right, that Bloodhound works with almost all the indicators that are out there. So it doesn't work with every single indicator, because some indicators just weren't built properly to actually be used to build an automated system. So, but most of the indicators out there, do work for building an automated system there. So here we go. So here's the there's the crossovers, right? So if we were in a long trade, right, when the moving averages cross, we've gone into a short trend. So that short signal will be used as an exit to exit any long trade there. Right. So there you go. So there's two very common use cases for Bloodhound there: entry signals and exit signals. So with that, let me close this out like so. Oh, I do need to save it. So let me save it there, give it that name. All right, and I got 2 minutes left here. So running out of time. All right, so what I'm going to do next here is go into the strategy class here, right? And this is where you pull up your strategy, right? And strategies is what does the back testing within NinjaTrader, actually within all trading platforms. So even if you've used, the other unnamed platforms, you also go to the strategy class to do back testing. So this is pretty universal across all platforms here. So let's get this enabled here. and get Blackbird up and running, right? And so we're going to open up Blackbird's interface. Again, Blackbird has a unique interface for building your system. And the first thing we want to do is hook in the Bloodhound signals, like so, right? And you notice Blackbird can even use third-party indicators that provide trace signals as well. So, so let's load in that Bloodhound system, right? So there it is, that easy SMA RSI 1 minute scalping. There's the file. So load that in. And then we need to set up the entry signals. And I named them, entry. And then I also built exit signals. So I'll load that in too. And I just called it exit, just keep things simple, right? Now that video didn't say what type of entry order to use. So I'm just going to go with the market entry order. It also didn't state what type of profit target to use. So I'm just going to go with an ATR. And actually, I'm going to knock it down here to 1 ATR, like so. The stop loss, it did mention how to set your stop loss, right? So for example, here, actually, I'm running out of time here. So I'm just going to set this up real quick.
Yeah, the kitten takes
Gotta
forever.
save the kitten. Yeah. So there we go. 5 and minimum value and call it good. And
Oh, just in
oh
time.
man. All right. Come on. Only needs a few more seconds. I spent a little too much time explaining here. But there we go. There's the results, right? Literally like just over 15 minutes there. So there we go. So now you can see on the chart there, we do actually have those trade results there. And I'm actually going to get rid of the other extra bloodhound on the chart there, right? So there we have it. Oh, wait, these are the exit signals. Let's switch over to the entry signals. There we go. And so now we can now pull up NinjaTrader's strategy performance here. So they build this nice strategy performance report, to give you the backtest results there. And, no surprise, right? Who would have thought, that such a simple, easy system would have been making money there. And so this is over, let's see, 60 days. Yeah, I have 60 days on my chart there, we can see. So not making money, but, are we done there? Well, no, I mean, you probably don't want to just go with that and say, okay, we're done. With Blackbird, and with Bloodhound, right, you can tweak the system very easily, right? This is just as quickly and easily as I built the system, you can go in there and make certain adjustments, right? So for example, like since I'm on a futures index data here, right, you probably only want to trade during RTH, regular trading hours, right? Because usually overnight, there's, a lot of consolidation, a lot of sideways action, right? So it's not good price action overnight. So what if we test this idea during the RTH? And so Blackbird has this scheduler built in where you can restrict, right, the entries by time. And then you can also force an exit. So that way Blackbird will exit your trade before the block of time ends or after the block of times. That way, right, if you're trading futures, you don't want to go into a margin call with your broker, right? So you probably want to be closed out by the end of the day, something like that. So, all right, so let's test this now during the RTH hours there and see if we get better results. So what we're going to do is reload the chart, right? So reloading the chart allows the back testing to be reinitiated again there. And so now we can see, right, there's no trades on my chart anymore. And that's because my chart is, at 3 and 4 a.m. in the morning. And that's what we excluded. So if I go back here, let's go back. How far back do I have to go? Let's see. Yeah, this is a 1 minute chart. So I do need to go back. There we go. So now once we're in the RTH, now we can see those trade signals again. So let's pull up the strategy performance there and see what happens. So it definitely made a big improvement, right? So it's losing less than half the money it did before, right? So it's even better results there, right? And so let's see what we can do to improve it even more. One thing I noticed, yeah, here we go. Here's a good example, right? One thing I noticed is when the slower moving average, right? And as a trader, this is always what you're doing, right? You're analyzing your system, trying to make it better, right? Looking through the charts, trying to notice, certain situations, that seem to be generating bad signals. So one of them, very common here is if the slower moving average is sloping down, right? We can see that there's still a steep slope down, and we got a long signal on that. So let's exclude long signals when there is a steep slope on the slower moving average, right? That way we're only seeing signals basically when the slower SMA is sloping, in the direction of the signals. All right, so let's make that adjustment there. So what I'm going to do, is open up Bloodhound here. Actually, I should not be working. Yeah, I actually shouldn't be working in here, but I'm going to do it anyways. So let's see. Let's move this out of the way. There. And so what I'm going to add is a slope solver here. And where is it? There we go, at the bottom, right? And we're going to check the slope of the SMA 30, right? So let's give this a name here, and right, the SMA 30 slope. So let's open up our input there, put in 30 for the period. And then I'm also going to go in here and adjust the output settings here. Let me shrink this up a little bit there. That way we can look at the chart while I'm making these adjustments here. All right. So the default here, is, actually, before we go there, the default here, right, is whenever the SMA or any moving average is sloping down, right, you get a short. And then if it's flat, we can actually see that on this one bar here, the SMA is actually perfectly flat. And so there's no output, right? No trend direction. And then it slopes up for 2 bars. Again, it's hard to see unless you really scale your chart up. There we go. We can see it sloping up a little bit. And so we get a long output because it's now sloping up. And then it flips back down and we get a short, right? So that's the default here. But what I want to allow is for a short signal to still occur if the moving average is just ever so slightly sloping up, right? But if it's sloping down like too much, we definitely want to get rid of a long trade signal if it's sloping down too much, right? But since we're in a downtrend, if it's sloping up ever so little bit, you may still want to allow a short trade to show up right there, because as we can see, right, we have a nice pullback, and that pullback in the market, right, did push the SMA up ever so slightly. So, it looks like it should be okay to get a short signal still right here. So I'm going to make that adjustment here within the slope solver. So I'm going to open this up. And so with this, you can see you have a lot of flexibility in the way that you analyze slopes of moving averages and stuff like that. All right. So I'm just going to plug these in here real quick because we are running out of time here. And that is what our weekly training workshops are for, is to provide all this detailed explanation of what I'm doing here. So, all right, so there we go. Let me click apply. And so now we can see, if we look at this, right, the SMA is sloping down. Remember, it's sloping up right here ever so much, but we're still getting a short output. So that would allow a short signal to pass through, even if the SMA 30 slopes up ever so slightly, right? So again, the point is, right, you do have a lot of flexibility in analyzing, various charting conditions there. All right. So let me add, I've added that in there. All right. So let me save that, close it out, and let's see if that made any kind of a difference. Let me shrink the chart up here a little bit, get things back to normal. And so let's reload the chart. Let me turn it back over to Jeremy so he can wrap it up, and hopefully we'll get to a couple of Q&A questions here.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Zach. I mean, like, if you noticed, guys, like how quickly with explanations, like Zach was able to build that system. I mean, even at my my expertise in developing, I would definitely not be able to build it as fast, and I would probably submit as well, if Zach didn't spend the time kind of explaining the system and the motivations and all that sort of stuff, that he built it within 5 minutes. And of course, we didn't really have time to show you, but just to imply that, if you could see the backtest results, it is in fact an auto trader. And that does mean as well, if you were to use, say, simulated data, or even trade it in the live market with actual ticks flying in, that it would take those positions and manage the trade throughout the trade. So we've only kind of just barely scratched the surface of what's possible. And in particular in Blackbird, it's kind of there's a whole world of being able to manage the orders and the trades when they're on, and that in itself, we've talked about this in other webinars, that in itself is a tremendously powerful, in terms of, if you've ever seen, or perhaps yourself, if you're a hardcore discretionary trader, especially the ones that we've seen before, like moving positions around, moving stops and profit targets and tightening them up, even widening them up in certain situations when they see action in the market. That kind of flexibility is actually like really good for their success, right? And that we've actually got all that capability built into Blackbird. So with those two products, again, there's Bloodhound and Blackbird. Those are two separate products. One is the sort of the indicator slash signal generation engine, that's Bloodhound, and the other one's the actual strategy component, which takes the trades and puts those trades live. And so when you combine those two, and kind of imagine if you had that kind of at your fingertips, you'd be able to create these systems and tweak them and try all sorts of cool stuff really quickly, much faster than you could develop it. Like if I were to do what he just did, and if you had some harebrained idea, right, and you wanted, if you're a coder, and you'd have to jump in the code, and then you have to build the infrastructure to support that idea that you had, and you have to implement it in that way. Then you go through a debug testing phase as well, and you might not get it right the first time, and then you finally get it done, and then you look at your system results and you're like, oh shit, well, I gotta go through and change it up again and tweak it more, right? You imagine that cycle. It takes a fair bit of time, right? And you saw right there, Zach was able to do that very quickly, and that included taking his time explaining it as he went along. So hopefully we've impressed you with kind of what's possible. And really the goal of this webinar today was to just kind of educate people and kind of bring an awareness of what we do and what's possible with our software. So if you're interested in learning more, we've got tons of online documentation and videos. We have unlimited email support. As Zach mentioned, he runs a live workshop every week that's free for both customers and non-customers. We even have a Discord community, and we have even private one-on-one trading. So if you're interested in learning more, you can simply go to our website. Right, so I'm just going to bring that over here. SharkIndicators.com. We got a couple videos there. This little video up here summarizes more or less what you saw. It's a nice little kind of summary video that kind of gives you an idea again of what our products do and what each one are responsible for. Again, there's two main products that we showed here today. That's Bloodhound and Blackbird. Bloodhound is again the signal designer, or we like to call it like the logic engine, right? That's the thing that had the nodes. Blackbird is the trader. Think of it like, it's a trade management system that allows you to customize with incredible flexibility and precision how your orders are managed throughout the life of the trade. It does things like order management, risk management, as well as money management, scheduling, all that sort of stuff. Even has like a watermark feature, which is used by hedge fund managers. So a lot of great things in there. And if you want to go ahead and try out our software, there's a free trial involved. You just simply go here, and actually what we're going to do is if you do sign up with this free trial today, we'll actually give you the indicator, the templates, the save files. You can just we can actually you can actually get a hold of those, so you can try out the actual system that you just saw Zach built live. You simply just ask us at sales@sharkindicators.com. That's right here, and just say, hey, I was in the webinar. I'd love to have a copy of that template that Zach just built, and we'll send it your way. But yeah, that's basically how you get to us and what we're all about. So without further ado, let's go ahead and see what we got in the chat for questions.
Yeah, there's definitely a bunch of questions here. Gonna have to scroll up a little ways here.
If you guys like, I've been monitoring the chat. I can kind of feed you those questions that may or may not have been answered.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, thanks. I saw that. I did type back the optimization question there.
Yeah.
Just to give a brief explanation.
So one question I believe you touched on actually a few of these, but if we want to elaborate more, Seth in the room asked, can you use multiple data series, for example, comparison between ES and NQ? And is it possible to read and work with text files?
Not with text files, but yes, you can do multiple data series here. And actually, Jeremy, I'm going to steal the screen sharing back here just so I can show people. So yeah, let's get rid of that. So get Bloodhound open here. Yeah, so we have, we can add what we call charts, because it's not just adding a time frame. So yeah, that person also wanted to add a different instrument, right? So that would make up a whole new chart. Yeah, so you can add new charts to your system, and you can run solvers, on a different chart here. So I can drag it down, right? So I can put the slope solver here on a different chart here, and we can see, that it's running on the 1 minute chart there. And so I could go in, and I could change the instrument to a different instrument if I wanted to, and of course change it to any bar type that you may have loaded into NinjaTrader there, right? So I've got the shark bars loaded in there, but any bar type that you have loaded, you can add that as a secondary data series. Yep.
A lot of these, I believe, were answered. So if I miss anything that anyone asked in chat here, obviously, please enter it in there. One question was if you guys have a Discord that they can reach you at.
Yep. Let me, I've got that actually right here. So yeah, if you go to our homepage, let's see, where is there we go. Discord's under products, and
It might be my support, actually, isn't it?
Actually, where did Keith move it? Keith just recently moved it.
Is it not?
Community. There we go. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Under support. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense, right? You put it under support and community, and there's Discord right there. Yeah. So you click on that link, and if you haven't registered for Discord yet, it'll take you straight to the registration for Discord, so you can get yourself registered. So, yeah.
So there's one that I'll kind of touch on a little bit here. There was, of course, the candid question: is it better than the NinjaTrader Strategy Builder? I would say, just as Jeremy did when he took over there and he explained like how quickly that can be done, and the fact that it's point and click, it's going to be your preference there. Like, I would say this is a little bit more intuitive if you're new to it. You can see it visually as you're setting up these nodes. The strategy builder is a lot of menus. It's point and click, but it's a lot of menus that you're setting up these different conditions and those sort of things. So it's really going to be what your preference is. I would say ease of use is definitely going to lean more into what was presented here today. A lot of our vendors are going to have really open up possibilities within NinjaTrader with their add-ons, with their creativity. So hopefully that answers that. And if you want to,
the only main distinction I would say is that the strategy builder you can do math inside of it. Currently, Bloodhound doesn't have a math capability, math solver, so you can't add stuff to like an indicator's output where you can do that with the strategy builder. So there's pros and cons. There's trade-offs. But between the two, and that's probably the main one.
I would
always
just interject, and I would say what the big difference in my mind is the strategy builder is sort of a code generation tool, right? So it'll take you so far, and it'll allow you to sort of plug in some rudimentary conditions and whatnot. But in general, you'll need to go in and more if you want to do any customization beyond that point. You'll have to you'll be coding at that point, I'm saying. Yeah. So,
right. And as I showed earlier with Bloodhound, you can easily add a secondary time frame, things like that. You can use indicators that also load up internally secondary time frames, which you can't do with the strategy builder unless you go in, as Jeremy said, and start coding, hand coding stuff like that. So yeah, again, there's pros and cons to both. So
yeah, and the thing is, once you build the strategy, you go in the strategy builder, you build it once. It's a one-shot deal, right? You once you've modified it, you can't really go back and modify and tweak it like Zach has been doing here, right? And that's kind of the big point I want to get across is when you're building a trade system, it's really all about iteration. I mean, even just as you saw, Zach's first stab at it, and this is very typical. You're not going to get it on the first shot. You're almost never going to get a viable trade system on the first tryout, and it usually requires a lot of iteration. In past presentations, we'll put up a little slide showing this iterative cycle, and really that's the creation cycle. You're starting with an idea, then you're implementing it, then you're testing it, then you're going back to the drawing board, and you're putting those ideas inside your trade system, and you just keep going through that cycle until you finally arrive at a tradable system. And it is that cycle that where a tool like ours allows you to very quickly iterate and change and tweak with very little effort.
Also, one thing I want to slip in here for all those people that are new to Shark Indicators, you can get the free trial here. So anywhere on our website, you'll see the menu system here. So you can get the free trial there, sign up for the free trial. And then for our more experienced users, if you go to the template file download page, which is support, and then halfway down, these are template files, right? So basically, this is a repository of the Bloodhound and Blackbird files that were created. And so we have the sales webinar files here. And so I know we always get emails after these sales webinars from our existing customers like, hey, where can I get that system? I want to play around with it. So if you go into the sales webinar section, this is something that we added kind of fairly recently, I think, within the last year or so. And then if you sort by date, there you go. So you can see we already have today's files uploaded and ready to go for you. So there's the Bloodhound file, the Blackbird file, and also the chart template. So I include the chart template so that way you can, you can set up the indicators, the same way I have it on my chart there. So
There's a question I skipped over, but several people have kind of reiterated the same question. I'm going to kind of tie two different questions together here. Number one, can you use your own custom indicators, and or there is a limitation? Is there a limitation on what type of indicators you can use? If you were going to develop your own, is there certain criteria you need to develop it for to use it in Bloodhound?
yeah, as long as you follow NinjaTrader's standard practices for building an indicator, then it's outputting its data that can be read. Yeah, let me go back to the strategy builder. Basically, the simple answer is if you can use that third-party indicator in the strategy builder, then you can absolutely use it in Bloodhound.
And that's one of the big
so, yeah.
powerful things about it is if you need to take it to that, you need to customize it, and you happen to be a developer. Yeah, go ahead and create your indicator with the special formula that you've got in your head, and then you could just plug it right into our system. And if you, in fact, if you've got something good enough in terms of you got an indicator that actually spits out entry and exit signals, even you can potentially even skip the Bloodhound step and just plug those signals right into Blackbird, and you have an incredibly powerful trade manager trading your entry signals.
Yeah. Yeah, we do have some videos that kind of walk you through and explain how you can test third-party indicators. I don't want to take the time to find them right now, but obviously, yeah, there are a bunch of people curious. So if you email us, we can send you a link to those videos so you can see how to test third-party indicators. And you can definitely test any indicator with the trial. So if all you have is the trial will test every indicator that you're thinking of using. So yeah, so we can send you a link to those videos on how to test indicators. So great. This next question, if there is one.
I believe you all have touched on everything. Because that answered quite a few, I believe, of the more recent ones.
Yeah, there's somebody that did ask if does Bloodhound generate code or Python script. So I want to make it clear it's not a code generator, right? The idea is if you do need to plug in your custom code, you can absolutely do that. But it in itself, it's its own system, complete in internal, right? So you can save your work obviously to files, and then you can load them up, but you run them inside of Bloodhound, you run them inside of Blackbird.
Right. Yeah, so you save your Bloodhound system, to a file, right? So yeah, you can save it to a file, and then you can load up those files anytime later. Yeah.
And actually, someone just brought up AI. I really want to speak to this because I'll just say, like, I am extremely excited about what's going on in the AI field. It's always been a passion of mine, and that, like, basically ever since the late 90s, when I trained as a computer scientist, we were already back then even learning even about quantum computing back then, believe it or not. And so AI, of course, is a very mature field now, and it seems like overnight we've just got these incredible AI tools, but really they're like 20 years in the making. And so yes, absolutely, we have got a very large, I would say, internal push. And I won't sort of spill the beans or anything like that, but I'll just simply hint that we are working very hard to integrate some AI technology into our system. And I'll just say, like, I use it every day now. I've gotten to the point where I use an AI assist for development, and it's really increased my productivity, like, in an unbelievable amount. And so I can only say that, of course, that's something we want to allow our users to have as well, right?
Let's see. Let me answer Zach's question here. So he was saying he trades with multiple lots and uses different profit targets. Yeah, and that's what the order sets are for. Yeah, Ninja's ATM doesn't call them order sets. That's really what they are. Is they're if you're using OCO, yeah, right. If you got 2 exit orders, then it is a set, right? So you have an entry order, set with exit orders or exit order. Yeah, so all you got to do is just create multiple order sets like this within Blackbird. So I can make a copy of A, and then with A, what most people want to do is they just want to make another, a further out profit target, extend their profit target out. So we have, the order set A is 1 ATR, order set B is 2 ATRs. But of course the stop losses, are the same. And so, yeah, you can just keep on going and just create as many order sets as you want to, which then gives you different profit targets that you can set up there as well. Yeah. So yeah, that was Zach's question there. Let's see.
Yeah, and there's no limit, of course, as you can see. You can have hundreds of these if you want, and they're really flexible in terms of we've even built like really fancy things in there to sort of using kind of a really fancy algorithm to sort of scale different order sets to different sizes depending on your risk management parameters that you may set. So there's a lot of really cool things that you can do with it. Yeah.
Ken is asking if there are other auto traders based on Bloodhound on the market. Blackbird and Raven are the only one that I'm aware of.
I think what he's trying to get at is has any third parties built auto trading systems using our software?
Yeah. We
do have a pretty sizable partner vendor list ourselves.
Yeah,
and they use our software. They use our Blackbird and Bloodhound to build essentially auto traders. But I think the vast majority of them actually sort of they sort of promote sort of what they call semi-automated trading, right?
Yeah. So for any of the advanced programmers out there, Bloodhound is extendable. So you can create your own custom strategy or even your own indicator based on Bloodhound signals. So we have had a couple of customers do that in various trade rooms out there that we've heard about. So yeah, you can build your own custom indicator or strategy based on Bloodhound itself. Yeah, and so if you want more information, again, just to keep this short, just email us and we can point you to the documentation on our website where you can get more information on how to implement Bloodhound into your own custom code. Again, you do need to be an advanced programmer though, right? So this is not for the novice. So,
I mean, we definitely went into a lot of nuts and bolts today, because our product happens to sort of appeal to very technical people, and so a lot of our customers are programmers as well, right? So, but actually, what I did want to mention is Seth was asking, what is Blackbird just for manual trading? So I think maybe we need to drill the point home and show like Blackbird actually running in an auto traded live sense. So like maybe you could throw up a simulated data feed or something like that, Zach, and have it just kind of run in the background and while we talk or something like that.
Yeah, let's see here. I better put it on like a
really quick time frame.
Yeah, I'll put it on like a 30-second time frame there. And we do need to kill it.
And to be more specific with Seth's question while you're setting that up as well. So you can actually trade Bloodhound by itself with kind of like, we have a sort of a bare bones strategy trader called Raven that's included for free with Bloodhound, and that will let you do just a basic profit target and stop loss, or even trade a ATM if you have one. But by and large, if you want sort of all that customizable power and whatnot, you'd use Blackbird in conjunction with Bloodhound. Yeah, so he's got it running there. You see there's a big blue Auto Trader on button. So at any time you can turn it on and off throughout the day. Obviously, if you have it off, it's not going to take any trades for you. And you can even enable one side or the other side only, so that say you know that it's a bullish market today and you don't want to be taking short trades, and you just enable the long side only. And likewise, any of those buttons below it are buttons that allow you to just get in manually instead if you want. So you have a lot of flexibility, and I did kind of allude to it, but we didn't get into it. But Blackbird has this incredible flexibility with how the orders are managed throughout the life of the trade, and it can do things like it can react. You can program it essentially to react on indicators, on price action, things that are happening on different time frames, and you can have them jump around and move depending on what's going on, according to your criteria. And then you can have layers and layers of criteria. We have an arbitrary number of trade rules that rules that you can put onto an order set, and so you have a lot of flexibility in how those trades play out. And like I said, we didn't show any of that today, but it is there, and you can certainly do really, really fancy stuff with it. And I'm talking about the the rules inside of the trailing rules. So you can design it in such a way that it looks like a discretionary trader is at it, like manipulating the stops and profit targets. So there you saw a long position being taken.
Actually, I had to put that
on.
Oh,
that was you? Okay.
I literally enabled Blackbird like a split second after this bar closed and generated a log signal. So I just missed it.
Oh, okay.
So I had to put that on manually.
All right. Yeah. So like this is one way you could use it, right? You could actually enter in, automated and then take over manually, or you could enter manually and then have it manage the trade automated, right? You can do both, right? It's really up to you.
Yeah. Basically, automated there means, like if you want to build yourself sophisticated trailing stop losses there, this is really getting into the nuts and bolts here. But Blackbird has a very sophisticated trailing trailing capabilities where you can build custom trailing rules, based on, various different conditions here. So we have a list of different types of market conditions, P&L conditions, signal conditions, things like that, that you might want to use to control how your trailing stop losses behave, things like that. So, so there's a lot more to this, to the trailing capabilities in here. Most people never give this any kind of thought because it's not the norm in the industry, but you can even move profit targets around, right? So you can build trailing rules for your profit target. So if things look really, if the market conditions are really optimistic, and you have certain indicator conditions that identify a really good, strong trending market, then you can use those indicator conditions to move your profit targets further out. And if things, aren't so optimistic based on your indicator conditions, then you could pull those profit targets in and just take, and hope to just get a little bit out of the market, So, again, we try and build in as much flexibility into Blackbird as much as possible. So, so being able to move your profit targets around, that's probably something that most traders are not even ever considered, right? Because it just really hasn't been a possibility in the past. You know, you've always had to manually move your profit targets around, but now you can automate that, you know, if you want. So
yeah, and it's really neat. Actually, I remember when we first started learning this stuff, or I'm saying learning trading. We were following a fellow who was, you know, he didn't, when he needed to exit a trade, he didn't just, you know, hit the close button or whatever. He actually would, instead he would tighten his profit target and stop losses for 50-50 chance of it hitting the profit target, you know, and get him out that way. And he would eke out another tick or two of profit, which often was a difference maker, right? So you can actually do the same sort of thing. And you can easily configure it so that if you want to exit, just tighten everything, let it come out with hopefully another tick or two of profit.
let's see, I'm just looking to see if there's any last minute questions I can answer there. Kurt's asking, what are your computer specs that I'm running today? Yeah, well, I do a lot of testing and stuff, and so I need my computer to be snappy. So I have almost a top of the line. I wouldn't say it's top of the line, but I have let's see, I think it's running almost at, it's like running at 4.5 gigahertz, I think. But I think the general question here that really is being asked is, you know, we get asked once in a while, like, what kind of computer specs do you need to run Bloodhound and Blackbird? Well, Bloodhound and Blackbird, they don't need much themselves. What really is demanding of your computer are the indicators that you're using within Bloodhound, right? Because Bloodhound doesn't do much. It's the indicators that you use to build your trading system. Those indicators are really what's taking up the computer, you know, demand, right? That's what really requires the faster computer if needed. So the point I'm getting at is we do have a page here on our website to help you understand what kind of computer you should select when using NinjaTrader or pretty much any trading platform. You know, it's just kind of a good general discussion here, but it is specific to NinjaTrader, you know, since we only support NinjaTrader. It is, but so again, if you go to support and documentation here, right, it'll take you to this page. And at the bottom of the page, there you go, computer selection guide right there, right? So that'll give you a good overview of the new NinjaTrader 8, you know, how it works with multi-threading, and what does that mean to you as a trader, you know, as far as your trading style and what type of indicators you may be using for your trading, right? So this will kind of walk you through a generalized kind of discussion of what indicators, you know, need high fast computer, or what type of indicators, you know, you could just say use a laptop, you know, a cheap laptop with, you know. So anyway, so this here will kind of help you, you know, make those various decisions, so that way you don't have to overpay for a computer that you don't really need, you know. And you definitely don't want to run on a very slow computer if you need a faster computer. So this will help you figure that out. So yeah. So again, this is our computer selection guide that you can go to.
Yeah, I don't want to overstay our welcome here. I think we're actually probably, what, 45 minutes over time at this point. So
you guys are good.
Yeah, we're
I
good.
really
Okay.
like the computer selection guide, by the way. That's pretty cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if anyone does have any last minute questions, I would say we got like, I give it like another 5 minutes if you guys want.
Sure. Yeah.
But otherwise, yeah.
Yeah, so Ashish is asking, is our product a subscription? So no, it's not. It's just a one-time purchase. You know, and again, we are constantly upgrading Bloodhound, right? Bloodhound and Blackbird, they're not static indicators, right? We're constantly adding new capabilities and new features. Like for example, you know, what you're seeing now is what we call Bloodhound version 2. And we came up with this last year. And if you remember when I was building this system, right, when I was building these crossovers, I was able to copy and paste. So that is something new that we implemented last year. It wasn't even a year ago. We implemented, copy and paste and undo capabilities. So we're constantly evolving and improving Bloodhound. And so with that, what we have, let me pull this up here. So again, I'm going to go to the support and the documentation. And again, I'm going to scroll down to the other pages, right? There's a lot of good, other information on these pages here. And let's see. So if you guys are wondering how does the 30-day trial work, there's a page on that, right? So when the trial's over, our software doesn't just stop functioning. It keeps functioning, so you can keep using the trial for as long as you want. Just certain capabilities have been disabled to encourage you to purchase the product, hopefully, right? So anyway, so that's a full explanation of how the trial works there. But really what I wanted to show you was the update policy here. So here's kind of like our updates policy, right? So this explains, how our licensing works, and how updates work and everything like that, right? So
I'll just answer one real quick for Leon. Leon's asking, can I load any indicator I want to use in the solvers? I will say yes, with the caveat that there are some indicators that don't spit out any output. So those unfortunately cannot be read because there's nothing to be read from. But by and large, 90% or 95% of the indicators on your system, and that may be indicators that you've bought separately, developed yourself, downloaded on the internet. It doesn't matter. Bloodhound and Blackbird will see it, and then you can actually plug them into your systems.
Yeah, kind of the simple rule is if you see a plot on the chart, then it's readable, it's usable. So, and there's other types of outputs that are also readable by Bloodhound as well, but that's a little more lengthy to explain. So again, I would just say if you have questions about third-party indicators, again, just go to support and then email us, and we can provide you with information on third-party indicators. Yeah, just use the contact us, or I always forget about this. We have this nice little easy thing that you can write us a chat question or something like that, or you can email us the question.
Yeah, if it's online, then there actually is a human on the other side. It's Keith.
It's Keith.
Yeah, there you go. So.
I think Keith is here right now. There.
Yeah.
Right. Let's see. Yeah, we answered if we can combine conditions on two time frames.
Maybe just show Leon real quick there, the indicator selection screen.
Okay. Let me pull that there. So let me just I'll look at the slope solver here, right? So we have this input, which is going to be an indicator input. So we do have this custom indicator window, right? It's called the select indicator window here. And so I'd say it's 99.9% accurate. So any indicators that you see that show up here are going to be indicators that you can use within Bloodhound. So so you can see pretty much almost every single NinjaTrader indicator is usable, obviously, because they're the ones that built the platform, right? There are the only ones that may not work with Bloodhound there are a couple of order flow ones that don't have an output. So like the cumulative delta can work, the VWAP works, and I think the volume profile is one of those that manages to slip through because it has plots. Yeah, it has plots, as we can see, but there's nothing in those plots. There's no data in those plots. So unfortunately, the volume profile doesn't work when you're building a system. So yeah, like Jeremy said, about, the vast majority of indicators out there are readable. So.
Yep.
All right. Yeah. And they can, like you guys said, they can reach out to you guys on your website via your email as well. Keith is there obviously to help out. But yeah, any last minute remarks, comments, anything?
Let's see. Well, I think we covered a lot. So yeah, I guess just lastly, and then we just remind everybody that if you want to ask questions live, you can always sign up for the training workshop there. Let me get that out of the way. Yeah. So again, to get to this page, you can go to support, and it's the second one down on the list, and just click the registration links there. So there's a separate registration for Bloodhound and a separate registration for Blackbird, right? So it's two separate ones. That way, you don't have to sign up for both workshops. You can just sign up for whatever one you want there. And these are always live, hosted by me, Zach, on these times here. So you can come in, ask your live questions, and I will show you how to build something live in the workshop. Right. So, yeah. So hopefully I'll see some new people in the workshop next week.
Thank you again, Jeremy, Zach, Keith. Thank you guys for your time. Thank you for sharing this information with us. Follow us on social media for alerts about upcoming events and other NinjaTrader ecosystem news. I'm going to post some links in the room for you all as well, so you're able to access that information. You all that the information provided in today's presentation was that of SharkIndicators and not of NinjaTrader. All information was for educational purposes and should not be constructed as trading advice. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we hope to see you again in future webinars. Happy trading from all of us here at NinjaTrader's ecosystem.